What's good with YouTube? You already know. Big Flacco with the Convicts Reaction, where we smash, dash, and react. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit the bell notification for future fire reactions. So yesterday, man, I got a reaction to this. At an FCI prison in Tucson, Arizona, which is a medium security, all these Tucson prisons pretty much house what you call high-profile individuals, PCs, dropouts, people who would be attacked on basically a main line. Well, you had a stabbing there. One Derek Chauvin, right? The disgraced Minneapolis police officer who was found guilty of basically murdering George Floyd. He's the one that had his, I'm pretty sure you guys already know, he had his knee on George Floyd's neck for like 9.5 minutes for allegedly Floyd trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. And there was witnesses that heard Floyd say he couldn't breathe. Floyd ended up passing away. Now, this straight sparked a lot of conflict in this country, man. You've seen it everywhere, riots and whatnot. Then you've seen people protecting their properties. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that was the backlash that came from this officer's actions. Okay. Now, as a former convict, just because you're going to a protective custody yard does not mean that you're always going to be protected by the inmates that are there. Just because you're there around other dropouts, snitches, and whatnot, does not mean that you're not a target as an officer. A lot of people witness what you did. And see, there's something about the convict code that people don't tolerate. One, they don't tolerate any type of crimes towards children or elderly. Two, they don't tolerate police officers who violate their sworn duty to protect and serve and abuse other inmates, because a lot of us have experienced some type of abuse or corruption from law enforcement in our life. So when you see an officer coming in that pretty much has a target on his back for his actions, right? There's going to be people who feel a certain way, even though they've tried to change their life and they've dropped out or they PC'd up for whatever reason, does not mean that they still like cops. Now, this is the second high-profile stabbing that's occurred in the borough of prisons in I think the last year. You had Larry Nazareth that was stabbed in a Florida prison. Now, this medium security prison in Tucson, right? This is the second type of incident that they've had that's major in the last year. So yeah, an inmate actually tried to pull out a gun in November of 2022 there and tried to shoot a visitor. The Bureau of Prisons has been under scrutiny for not only the violence that they're having at several institutions, right? But also their handling of several high-profile cases, right? You had the Whitey Bugler situation, right? Which a lot of people say pretty much stemmed from fucking him disrespecting a correctional officer at another institution. You have the Jeffrey Epstein, right? Who committed suicide while in custody. And now you have these recent events. You would think someone like Derek Chauvin, right, would get some type of special treatment, right? And I say that because of this. Most correctional officers, right, that I've experienced, whether state or federal, there's some that just do their 9 to 5. They mind their own. They do their job, right? There's some that are cool, but there's also some that are corrupt, man. You know, they have their cliques. They go in there and they just fucking do damage. And the only difference between Derek Chauvin and some of the correctional officers I've seen is that Derek got caught. And you may have some officers that are sympathetic based upon that, because they may see that that could have been easily them. Then you may have some officers that feel he's disgraced that badge. You know, see, an officer, man, this is what people forget. They are not the law. Sometimes people forget that, they work for us. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else but us. So therefore, they have to be held to a high standard because they're the ones that are supposed to ensure that no one's violating the law. It doesn't mean that they can go above and beyond the realm of breaking the laws themselves. And a lot of officers do. They think it gives them some type of special privilege. Therefore, when some officers who have honor and integrity, they don't like that shit. You know, inmates in general don't like it, right? Because, when you're a criminal or you're out there in the streets, a lot of times officers put themselves on a pedestal above that of even citizens out there in the community. They think they're better than the next person. I mean, they have that fucking ego with them. You know what I mean? So having Derek show up there, right, at a prison does not guarantee his safety. Most people do not like cops in general because a lot of cops are abusive. See, this is what people need to sit there and fucking analyze, right? Just fucking 9.5 minutes changed this man's life. Now, he already had a fucking little bad history of fucking, you know, past acts. He shouldn't even been on the job, right? But nowadays, like I said, police departments, you have police officers who go from department to department. They fuck up over here and they'll move around. Therefore, if they have any fucking like, you know, any smut on their fucking jacket, right? Any fucking stains that makes them look like they're not an honorable cop. A lot of times, man, a lot of departments need fucking officers, right? They can bypass all that. That's why you got a lot of fucked up police officers out there, and it kind of makes the good officers who do real good police work makes them look kind of fucking bad. I personally, as a convict, a former convict, excuse me, even in my days of committing crimes, I was never ever against law enforcement because you need rules of conduct in the society, which are laws, to make sure it keeps things stable. You know, a lot of the crimes in my eyes, I wasn't really impacting, you know, or affecting people, but I really was. You know, I just didn't realize it. But I was always against abusive cops, cops that fucking, you know, target you, cops that disrespect you, cops that fucking plant, make lies, and do all that fucked up shit, man. If you can't get an individual for arrest through good police work, through you doing your job, then I don't have no respect for any type of officer who will fucking lie to get the job done. And it happens all the fucking time. The George Floyd case, the Mario Gonzalez, Edward Bronstein, and a few others, they all pretty much, the person that they had under, they tried to detain, right, all died over similar causes, right, which was basically having that, your knee in the back, right? But all these individuals had almost the same drugs in their system. So that right there should be a red flag that the system needs to pretty much change the way in which they detain certain subjects. Now, out of all those cases, the Edward Bronstein case was the worst fucking case I've ever seen, man. Um, they just fucking manhandled him, man. Just treated him like he was some fucking scum on the streets, and he died. You know, the Floyd one was, you know, pretty bad, and so was the Mario Gonzalez. But it just goes to show, man, how sometimes officers, right, in the line of duty, just will get carried away. They want to fucking become gun ho, fucking all this and that, right? And will take advantage of pretty much victimizing individuals who can't even really protect themselves. Most of these guys, what they're doing, they're resisting, but they're not trying to fight back. And there comes a time when you have that individual detained to where you step on back because you never know what could happen, what their health conditions are and whatnot. How many times have we seen people sit there and say, request law enforcement, request medical treatment, right? Say they can't breathe, and officers pretty much fucking ignore it, and they end up dying. That just goes to show what type of training these officers are getting. And if these deaths continue over and over again, there comes a time when eventually not just the officers have to be accountable, but also the departments. I've always said this, right? An officer, he's not a doctor. Quit pretending to be one. Quit pretending to know if the person is healthy or not. Quit pretending to know fucking if he's going to live through it or die. Because there's been a lot of cases that are similar, right, to the George Floyd one where people have died. Now, this officer, man, like I said, 9.5 minutes, that's fucking, you know, that's terrible. Especially with the individual right on your knee talking about, I can't breathe. Only a sick, evil person would sit there and continue to do that. Someone who just is, like I said, has some type of like spiritual malady, like they have no respect for mankind or even human life, man. And that's why when a person like Derek Chauvin goes to prison, man, you're going to have some comics that are not going to fucking care about his life, what happens to him. And you can't really sit there and get mad about it because he brought all that up on himself. When you have a pattern of being abusive as an officer, right, no one's going to give you a pass when you get to prison, even on the PC side. I hate to be one that sounds like, you know, I'm supporting violence or supporting him being attacked, but, you know, it is what it is, man. Like, I don't really have any respect for this man. You know, like I said, any officer who in the line of duty, through their actions, a person dies, to me, that's fucking an issue. Now, not only that, and I've said this before in other spills, right? I think that if you're an officer, even if you're not involved in an act that someone loses their life or they're being abused or victimized, if you witness it and you don't do nothing to stop it, I think you need to be held accountable the same as any other officer. Only then, right, will you start seeing changes. And not just be held accountable, have threat for their pension to be fucking took, their you know what I'm saying, blackball from fucking working in any other police department, demotions, all that stuff needs to be in play. Because only then, right, when it starts to affect people in their pockets, their career, their family, and whatnot, will you start to see people stand up. See, sometimes you can't just make someone stand up and do the right thing. But if you've put all these fucking barriers, right, that could affect them later on, you may get the results where people fucking start to stand up. Well, hey, man, I can't afford to lose my pension. I retire in a year. You know what I'm saying? Hey, one more thing, I'm going to get fucking fired. You're messing with people's livelihoods. And see, just like they're messing with people's lives, right, they need to realize they wouldn't want someone to mess with their life. So, yeah, I thought this was interesting, man. This dude didn't last that long in prison before he got stabbed, man. You know, and like I said, man, there's certain individuals that no matter where they land, they're always going to be a target, which is those that have done heinous or hideous crimes towards children and law enforcement who've abused fucking people out there in public. They're always going to be a target, man. And they brought that upon themselves. With that said, it's Flacco from a Convict's Reaction. I'm gone.